field that is being used as a replacement for animal therapy in nursing homes, which is really kind of awesome.
So she built planets on Earth, you guys.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our very special program, Mother-Daughter Match, an evening with Dr. Cynthia Kudji Sylvester and Dr. Jasmine Kudji. I'm James Monroe. I'm the producer of adult programs at the Museum of Science, Boston, and I am incredibly honored to introduce our special guest this evening. You may be familiar with their story already, as they made national headlines last year when they became the first mother-daughter duo to not only graduate medical school at the same time, but then to be placed within the same hospital system for their residencies. And tonight we are so lucky to have them here. They're going to go even deeper and further into their story and their journey and share a lot of their perspectives with us. And they're going to do so with our third very special guest, our moderator for the evening, Janae Osterhelt, who is a culture columnist and the creator of the ongoing series, A Beautiful Resistance, for the Boston Globe. I am so excited to have the three of them here tonight. We are incredibly appreciative to all three of them for agreeing to be here and for sharing their stories with us. And tonight is a part of our current winter-spring season of adult programming here at the museum. We still have a lot of lineup left. Every week from now until the end of May, we have a different free virtual event, and you can check out that full lineup and register for your spots in all of those events by going to mos.org/adults. You can see what is on the horizon. I do want to flag two very special events that are upcoming. The first is next week. We are welcoming Angela Saini here for a conversation about her book Superior, The Return of Race Science. And then 2 weeks from tonight, we will be back for our Reno Family Foundation Symposium with Pulitzer Prize winning author Isabel Wilkerson for a conversation about her groundbreaking book, Caste. Now, a little bit later on tonight, Janae will be taking some of your questions for Cynthia and Jasmine. So if you have questions, you can submit those at any time by going to slido.com and entering the code MOTHER-DAUGHTER-MATCH, all one word, just as it is showing up on your screen right now. Once again, that's Slido, SLIDO.com, with the code MOTHER-DAUGHTER-MATCH. I need to thank two very important groups who made tonight possible. The first are our friends from the Women in Science and Engineering Initiative here at the Museum of Science, as well as our friends from the Lowell Institute. Without them, we would not be here tonight. It's because of these two groups that this program is happening and that it is free for all of you. So please join me in giving a huge virtual round of applause and thanks to both of those groups. And finally, I ask all of you at the end of the conversation tonight to go to donate.mos.org/mos@home and consider making a gift to allow us to keep bringing free virtual programming just like tonight into all of your homes. Once again, that's donate.mos.org/mos@home. But now it is my honor to turn it over to our special guests. Please join me in welcoming to your stream Dr. Cynthia Kudji Sylvester, Dr. Jasmine Kudji, and our moderator for the evening, Janae Osterhelt.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Doctor and Doctor.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
We're so happy to be here.
A long time.
Such a long time.
Hello, everybody at home. Thank you for spending your Wednesday with us. We are happy to help you get over the hump. Doctor and Doctor, as you know, I am the creator of A Beautiful Resistance at the Boston Globe, centering Black joy and Black lives. So I would love for each of you to reintroduce yourself and say, my name is, and my life is a beautiful resistance because, and let us know what your beautiful resistance is today.
Okay. You want me to go first? Mm-hmm. So my name is Dr. Jasmine Kudji. My beautiful resistance is being myself and occupying spaces and places that some say I don't fit.
Yes.
And my name is Dr. Cynthia Kudji Sylvester, and my beautiful resistance is remaining humble to serve my community, staying positive, being calm, even though it looks like everything else is not, and staying focused on the most important things in life.
Yes. My name is Janae, and my life is a beautiful resistance because I get to witness and amplify Black voices and Black joy and be here with you tonight.
Thank you.
We are going to absolutely talk about how brilliant and amazing it is that you got to match at the same institution and be doctors together, be surgeons. Hello. Before we get into that, I would like each of you to define what Black joy means to you, because we're going to talk a lot about racism and inequity in medicine and healthcare, and I want to make sure we keep the joy here too.
Mm-hmm. When I first think of Black joy, I think of the silver lining, the ability to find happiness through all of the disparity, the ability to still shine despite all of the darkness.
Yes.
I would say for me, Black joy is having faith and really enjoying my family and friends that have made all of this possible by their continuous prayers and support for us.
Perfect. Much has been made about both of you being these amazing Black women, mother and daughter, being able to go on your your medicine journey together and match at the same institution. And I think it's amazing and it's worth the stories. But I also think that there's so much more to you and your story. And tonight I want to get into that. I want to start with you, Cynthia, and ask, what's your earliest memory of medicine and what inspired you to take this track?
So when I was in high school, I wanted to be a physician. At that time, affirmative action had just kind of started. And I remember my dad and I had gone to the school counselor, and she had asked me, well, what school are you applying to? And I said, I'm applying to Tulane. And she looked at me and she says, oh no, you're not Tulane material. And I was like, oh, but I completely was offended, and I couldn't believe that was the box that she had for me, because I didn't see myself like that. All the other students were going to all the local colleges, and I thought Tulane was a big name, right? So I was like, there's no reason why I can't do it, so I applied and I got in. And at that time at Tulane, it was difficult because I didn't feel prepared enough, and I struggled because, number one, I didn't even think going in that I could be a physician, because all of my counterparts were all, white. And I honestly thought that there was something inherently different about me, that I couldn't score like them. But it wasn't that I couldn't score, right? I just didn't know how to study, and my pastor was the one that actually showed me how he studied his Bible was the same way that he taught me how to study my books. And after I got that, it was on, right? And I realized that I can do this. I just needed to be taught. So
you got the recipe.
Yeah, I needed to be taught. And I realized that, for me, there was no, at that time we had Bill Cosby show, and we saw like an African-American physician, right? Male physician, and an African-American female attorney. For us, that was huge, right? You just didn't have us on TV. That was huge.
Did that play a role in inspiring you to be a doctor?
Absolutely, hands down. Because just seeing that image made me feel like it is possible, because remember, my guidance counselor is telling me I don't have what it takes to even go to college, right? And here I am aspiring to be a physician. Yeah, it was huge, because it showed me that it is possible. Now, I didn't see very many of us, right? But just to see it on television made a difference.
Well, what about you, Jasmine?
You know,
the ultimate role model.
I think for me, it was very different, not even a little different. It was very different because, my mom, she went through all the struggles before I was born, and she tried her hardest to make sure that I didn't have to face the things that she faced. So she was a nurse. She was my first, image of medicine. I looked up to her. I went to the hospital with her, and, she had people telling her, you can't do this. And so every step of the way, she always told me, you can. And in fact, I'm going to push you to do it. I remember my mom, she was a nurse. She was making, a decent amount, but she decided to send me to a school that was way out of her budget. But because she wanted me to have all the opportunities possible, I told her I wanted to become a doctor. She said, okay, I'm going to send you to this school and you're going to do it. I think at one point my tuition check literally was her whole paycheck. And she said, this is what needs to be done. And I remember her writing the check and handing it over to our dean. And I was just like, I need to go study.
No, I'm so glad you actually said that, because we were talking about Black women and how Black women, no matter what their job is or status is, always inherently take care of everybody around them and do what needs to be done. And I mean, we see it. We saw what happened in Georgia. We see what happened with the election. It was, a lot of work by Black women making that happen. And it happens in neighborhoods, in homes, and families, and in little micro bubbles everywhere. So when you think of it that way, it's not at all surprising or shocking to be sitting across from two Black women doctors. Like it's totally a natural thing to see. However, the system is set up so that people like the guidance counselor do say, oh no, that's not for you. They keep us out. So unless you have that internal grit and access and know how to get, all the things you need, the student loans and everything that you need to kind of like get this knowledge and get the keys to get on the very hard and tedious long track to becoming a doctor or a surgeon, you don't think it's possible.
Right. Correct. Right.
There's only about 5% of doctors that identify as Black or African American. Why is this dangerous for us as a people?
I think it's most dangerous for us because, there have been studies that show that when, especially middle-aged African-American males, right, like in their 40s, that when they're seen by African-American physicians, right, that they tend to get better care. Why? Is it because, they can relate to them? That was one aspect of it. The other aspect, there's a trust there, right? There's a long history of distrust within the African-American community, and that's just a fact. It's not uncommon for us to walk in a patient's room that's African-American, and when they see us, they're just like, wow, and the guards come down.
Yeah.
I've had like other attendings actually bring patients to me, because they felt like I'd be able to get through to a patient, and it's very rewarding, to see that response from somebody. But at the same time, it's almost heartbreaking, because they shouldn't have that response. I hadn't said one word to them, right? I haven't given out one pill. I haven't examined them. I haven't done anything. But my mere presence, they know that, one, we went through heaven and hell to get here, right? So they trust us that we're trained and that we're going to do everything we can for them.
Yeah.
Before we even start.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, there's a reason for that distrust, and a lot of our medical advances are rooted in the abuse of Black people,
The brutalization of Black people.
Brutalization of Black people. And, we know that. And there are a lot of people that will not go to the doctor because they're saying, I don't trust the medications that they're giving me. I don't trust the vaccines they're trying to put in me. Because at one time in history, they had a reason not to trust it.
That's right.
And over again in history.
Over and over again.
And, all types of experiments, whether we're talking about
And this isn't a long time ago.
No, it's not a long time ago. It happens over and over and over again. And from slavery all the way to recently, there's many, many stories of medical abuses and malpractices. And then even when you see someone like, Serena saying, I had to fight, I had to convince them I need help to save my life when I'm giving childbirth. And it's Serena, the literally the best, it's not Tom Brady, guys, the best athlete in the world, Serena.
Exactly. Let them know.
Just a little bit, a little razzle dazzle. But, she can't get the help she needs and without fighting. And she's Serena. So imagine how many of us they don't hear when we say we're in pain or this thing hurts or this is wrong. And there's been studies that show doctors are less likely to give Black people pain medicine that they need or believe that they're actually in as much pain as they think they are. And I'm glad we're talking about distrust because here we are in the middle of a pandemic and, there are Black people who have a reason to not trust the vaccine. And instead of acknowledging that history and talking to them in ways that encourage trust, there's a lot of condescension. Yeah. What have you encountered now that we're, in vaccine rollout and there's skepticism and, the conversation has to change. There has to be some reconciliation and healing. What have you encountered during the pandemic with that?
I mean, I've heard it all from patients, and not just patients, from friends. People think that they're going to inject a chip into you. That you're going to get COVID from getting the vaccine. Just a bunch of different things that are dispersed. That people tend to believe, and it hurts us because one, we have the comorbidities that cause the disease to affect us most. So us not getting the vaccine only, amplifies the effects of that. Right. So, I try to talk to my patients and I tell them, I've gotten the vaccine. I trust it. Even if there are side effects, I'm willing to deal with them, to go through that because ultimately I know that, this will affect me more. This will affect my family more, so because, I'm doing it, you should do it too. Yeah. We have to serve as examples to our community.
Absolutely. I think one of the most difficult, reality is when you tell a patient that they have COVID. Mm-hmm. All the isms and schisms, all the reasons why disappears.
Yeah.
The minute you say you're positive for COVID. I had a woman maybe last week that she had bilateral pneumonia, right? Tested positive for COVID. And her response, she burst out in tears and she says, am I going to die? It was heartbreaking, and I asked her, what has she done to this point? No mask, no, social distancing. And as frustrating as it is, that's just the truth of where we are.
Yeah.
And it's not, she's looking at the television, right? And she doesn't know what to believe. She doesn't know if we're telling the truth to her or not. The stories have been handed out generation to generation to generation of the mistrust, to the point that even simple things like getting our diabetes checked, going to the doctor for your general screening, we don't do, and it's killing us. It's absolutely killing us. If you go outside and you look out on the streets, it's not us jogging up and down the streets. We're in the fast foods, and we're killing ourselves because we're afraid to do what we need to do to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and then we live in food deserts.
Yeah.
There's an access issue. It's like fast food is easier.
Absolutely.
There's not access to healthy foods in a lot of neighborhoods where Black and brown people live. There's a safety issue of being able to run freely. That's right. What that looks like. And it's like when we say racism is a public health crisis, this is what we're talking about. It's like, it's not just access to the healthcare system, it's access to healthy living, it's access to be freely well, to like understand that is a tool of resistance, because we've been so conditioned to be like tools of capitalism. So it's like work. You're not in pain, keep going, go. You'll be okay. You don't have time for that. You got to just grind. Mm-hmm. And it's like you said, it's killing us. Yes. And to talk about coronavirus, to talk about COVID, as you mentioned, like we have the comorbidities. Mm-hmm. What I've seen with the vaccine is some states recognize asthma as something like they're on the list to get the vaccine earlier. And then some states don't. But that's actually something that Black and brown people have at a much higher rate, because we disproportionately are suffering from environmental injustice that leads Black and brown children to grow up with asthma. So I've been wanting to like ask a doctor about this. Like, should asthma, my dog is drinking water. Should asthma should asthma patients, people who suffer from asthma be getting the vaccine sooner?
I think that given that it is a respiratory illness, I think that's definitely something that should be considered. I think at least the way they're rolling it out here in Louisiana, they're starting with age first. Yeah. Because even, regardless of comorbidities, if you're elderly, your immune system doesn't function as well, so they're at the top of the list. But it makes complete sense to me that if you already have issues with breathing, you should get the COVID vaccine soon.
and to add to that, I mean, to be honest, if you have any major comorbidity, right, you should get the vaccine. Yeah. Because you have patients with asthma, you have patients with COPD, have heart failure. There's a slew of diagnoses. But if you have any of these major illnesses, major comorbidities, then definitely you should be on the list.
First in line.
Right after the elderly. Yeah. I want to go back to what we were just talking about like the go. How can we reframe the conversation around wellness to include rest and joy?
I think that's an excellent question, especially in medicine, because, I think it's so ironic and so backwards that, we spend all of our time worrying about other people's health and working towards getting other people healthy. And half the time, we barely sleep 6 hours, in a night. We work, 70, 80 hours a week, and so we don't take the time for ourselves to actually be healthy. Yeah. We don't eat well. Half of us don't exercise, and you feel like a hypocrite, telling your patients like, hey, you should eat well, you should exercise, you should do these things, and you don't have the time to do it. And I think a lot of it stems from, a change in the generational, culture. Yeah. Back in the day, they had that grind culture. They worked to provide for families and whatnot. But now I think we have a better understanding that it is okay to rest. And in fact, it's necessary.
It's dangerous if you don't.
It's dangerous if you don't. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And even in my program, I think, in my program, family medicine, they really do a good job in addressing that, that topic. We have what is called wellness days, where we're able to take off at least 3 or 4 times a year just to rest, to kind of let go. They monitor our hours, and they're very diligent on that. And you can't work over those hours, but it is a huge concern for us as residents, trying to get the exercise in, trying to eat healthy, so it's a huge topic for us.
Yeah. And, one thing that's extremely important, and it all, contributes to one another, is mental health. When you're not able to eat well, you're not able to take care of yourself, it's hard to be okay in here. And what I found is just having a moment, taking a moment to just breathe, taking a moment to just kind of clear my mind and say, this is where you are right now. Everything is okay. You are safe.
Yes.
Just taking those moments to yourself it's so important.
Right. Especially when we were in medical school.
Oh, yeah.
Because in medical school, it's like you're reading all the time, you're studying all the time. It's competitive. You're trying to make that grade because, competing against everybody. So, and you forget that, I got to take care of myself, and when you get out here in residency, it's no different.
Yeah. Well, and I just think it's something we suffer from across the board, no matter what your job is. I think that grind culture, that like, not just the grind culture, but also the I'm okay, that doesn't hurt. Like, I'll be all right. I'll check that later. It'll be okay. I'll get some tussin. How are you two taking care of yourselves? Like, how do you rest? What gives you joy?
So I remember during medical school, my first year, I was just trying to grind it out. I was trying to get through, and I was struggling. And, I didn't realize that I was struggling until it almost got too far. I was just kind of like depressed, and I was just exhausted, and it was just bad. And the following year, I decided, you know what, I'm not going through that again. I'm going to, schedule something that I enjoy every month. And I always put at the end of the month so that I had something to look forward to, and so for me, that meant a concert or a trip or, just something that just brought me joy. I scheduled it and I made sure I did it. Like, everything else could be canceled, but I'm going to my concert. And I still try to continue that now through residency. It's a little bit harder because, I have to be at the hospital. I have to be at work, but just finding that one thing that gives you joy and just making sure that you do it.
I think for me, the thing that really helps me kind of decompress is family. Even when I was in St. Kitts, I always took that financial aid money and made sure I got home, and that helped out tremendously. I think my medical school did a good job as far as listening to us. If we wanted a basketball court, we would get it. Whatever we thought we needed to help us get through counseling, whatever, they always provided those services for us. And I've done the same thing here. Anytime I get a break, I'm gone. I am out of here.
Exactly. I'm just so happy you both talked about holistic wellness, like mental health, like spiritual health, like that, just being mind, body, spirit in tune with yourself and taking that time to rest, to play, and to better take care of yourselves.
Definitely.
So again, we know how badass it is that a mother and daughter get to be doctors together, get matched at the same institution together. Like, the brilliance of you is beautiful and just amazing. But there's also a thing that happens when you are Black and you are either the first to do something or one of the only, or you just happen to be super successful at a thing. And there is a spectacle that becomes so much about your Blackness or your womanness that it almost tears away at your full humanity and who you are and in your merits. What advice do you have for people who are the first? Because there's so many of us, even in 2021, that continue to be the first, to be the only, to be one of a few. And there's a pressure that comes with that. It's like there's a delight, there's a pressure, and there's a destruction because there's other people that are mad. Right. That think that you just there because you Black, or you stole their candy. So, what advice do you have for people who are in that journey?
I remember when Jasmine was in medical school, and she came, I think she had talked to a counselor, and the counselor had told her something about, you gotta represent all the Black people in this program. So you gotta be the top and you gotta do this. And I looked at her and I was like, girl, you ain't got to do none of that. That is not for you to worry about, And, for me, this was life. This was life. Had Jasmine not put the post up, it would have just been life, right? My mom, when I was little, we were in Ghana, and there was somebody came up to me and said it came up to my mom and said the little girl was sick, right? And I remember looking at my mom, and we took the little girl, put her in water, right? And that kind of sparked it in me, right? That kind of did it for me. So seeing that, right, made me feel like it's just a part of life. You do what you need to do, right, at the time that you're in it. Mm-hmm. And I said that to say that even though we're considered the first, right, when I look at like people that I admire, like my mom, to me, she's my first. And she doesn't put that pressure on me, right, to say that you have to accomplish all these things. She always tells me you take things day by day by day. You can't look at, I have to be the top. I don't have to be the top. I have to do my best. Mm-hmm. And that's what I always tell Jasmine. You're not in competition with anybody, right? The only person that you gotta be is your best. And if your best is a C, well, doggone it, you're gonna see your way through, right?
Yes.
If your best is a D, you're gonna work a little harder, right? But I mean, that's the truth. That can't be your best. But if your best,
Kudji Sylvester out here taking us to church.
But you're not gonna allow somebody to put the pressure on you, because we as women put enough pressure on ourselves.
Absolutely.
Now, to be honest, that's whether you Black, white, green, yellow, whatever, right? Just being a woman in and of itself is you have all the responsibility. You take on all the responsibility, right? Absolutely. Not to say that men don't take responsibility. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you take it on because you care so much. You're that nurturing person. You got that nurturing.
It's proportionally on women. Yeah.
So you don't need to take on listening to everybody else's, box for you. All you have to do is do your best, and that's it.
Yeah. And I think for me, being the first or the only in a space, it causes you to want to kind of either hide, or blend in, and I remember when I was younger, trying to blend in and realizing that, I got all this hair, I got this dark skin, there is no blending, and I quickly learned that I have to be myself, and when you truly, truly are comfortable with yourself, when you can embrace who you are and embrace who you want to be, that's when you can really succeed. Right. It's tough, it's really tough, but you really just have to, dig into who you are, dig deep and realize that, all the judgment that you're getting from these other people are just reflections of who they are. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with who you are. Nothing. You define who you are and you define who you want to be, and you strive for that.
That's it.
So we've talked about how being a Black doctor has helped you as far as building trust with patients, representation, and we just talked a little bit about how it hurts and, the pressures. What advice do you have, not just for Black people, but for anybody that's endeavoring, taking their medical school journey?
Medical school is one of those things that you cannot understand until you go through it. you know. And I think the best advice that I can give anyone who wants to go to medical school or who is already in medical school is just to keep going. Mm-hmm. Every single day you feel like you're doing something wrong, because most likely you are, but that's the system of medicine. You know, you learn by failing. That's why they say it's practicing medicine. That's right. You never perfect it. You never perfect medicine. And every day you make mistakes and it's fine, but you just have to learn from them. And I think that's just something that everyone, no matter what field that you're in, you know, you have to understand that you have to be okay with failure.
Absolutely. I, you know, because I started out in nursing, right? I've gotten a lot of feedback and a lot of questions from nurses who really want to go into be physicians. And one of the things that I've learned is that regardless of whatever it is that you want to be, just start, right? Because a lot of women are in their 40s and they're like, I wanted to be a physician, right? But I decided not to because I had kids, I had a husband, I had a mortgage, right? And they're like, how do I get there? Mm-hmm. You have to start. There is never going to be a right time. Yeah. You're never going to have enough money. Your plans are not going to all work, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It does. You know what? I had 20, but I think I put $20,000 in a 401k, and I used that all up within the first semester. And I was like, done, right? Done.
You got to clap when you say that now. Like, it doesn't even matter. I'm going to say that to myself on bad days. Like, Dr. Kudji, give me my prescription.
Because you know what? At the end of the day, you are going to find a way, right? You're going to find, that's what we do as women.
What we do.
We find a way. If that bill is due next week, I promise you, you're gonna find a way. You're gonna borrow. You're gonna take out a loan. You're gonna work those double shifts. You're gonna do whatever you have to do to get it done. And it's in medical school. You know, you can't be sidetracked by what everybody else is saying. You're not too old. Do it anyway. You don't have the money. Do it anyway. Just do it.
I'm so happy with this discussion. It's Black History Month.
It is.
And, you know, although Black is beautiful 24/7, 365, 66 on leap year, you know, we still celebrate this month. And who are some of your role models or heroes, you know, that have inspired you?
The first person that popped into my head, and probably because she just had this amazing inauguration moment, was Michelle Obama. You know, I read her book, Becoming, and, you know, what stood out to me is that she's just so honest and just so true to herself. You know, she went to law school, you know, and she went through it, she finished, and she realized that wasn't what she wanted to do, you know, and I think, you know, as Black women, as a human being, you know, when you set out to do something, you know, we all have it in our minds that, you know, we have to define ourselves as something, you know, and in that moment, she defined herself as an attorney, but she said, you know, that's not who Michelle is right now, you know, and she completely did something different, you know, and I just admire her so much for her courage.
You took my person.
I took your person.
You took my person. Because, you know, something she said was that when she was going to college, right, and she was applying for those Ivy League schools, she said, you know, that someone told her that she was an Ivy League material. And I was like, they told you too? You know?
That happened to you? Yeah, I mean, that happens to all of us. They tell us we can't do a thing.
Yeah, and you know, and I mean, she is just so phenomenal. You know, she really, truly, she's like today phenomenal. You know? And I mean, of course, I still look up to people like Martin Luther King. You know, I look at the sacrifices of Malcolm X, you know, and I look at the, you know, who was it, the college students that sat at the countertops in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
You know, phenomenal people. You know, phenomenal people. You know, so those are the people we look up to.
I like to call that the Black history you know I carry with me, the Black history you carry with you every day. And you know, you two are part of that now. Like, you're part of, there's people who are listening to what you're saying tonight, and they're going to carry that with them, and it becomes part of their, you know, like, I'm literally going to be saying it doesn't matter anyway.
Doesn't matter.
That's part of the Black, you know, that's part of that. I will carry that with me. It's the things we give each other. One of the audience members is going to UMHS and wants to know about your experience there.
Love UMHS. Love. And no, they didn't pay me to say that, but love UMHS. And I'll tell you why. When I started medical school, I thought I knew, because I was a nurse practitioner, right? And the first week, one of the professors told me, you know, you need to show me how to do a blood pressure. And I did the blood pressure, did it like normal, and I was wrong. And then he taught me why I was wrong, right? And I learned that day that the first thing I have to do is humble myself. The key to being successful at UMHS, you have to have humility to learn. You have excellent, excellent professors. They take their time with you. They'll meet with you on Sundays. You know, they'll go out of their way for you. They're phenomenal, phenomenal teachers. Some of the best teachers I've ever had. When I got, I remember I think Saturday morning, I was like stressed out and I was overwhelmed. And I called the dean and I was like, my name is Cynthia Kudji and I am stressed out and I need help. And he said, come to my office. And he literally allowed me to make the program to fit me. You know, and not many medical schools will go out of their way to do that. You know, and it really, really, truly, you know, helped to, it made me, number one, a better student. I was able to grasp the amount of information, and it just made me, I feel like, a better applicant.
I love that. I hope that answered our person's question. There's a question for me, so I'm gonna answer it. Someone wants to know about A Beautiful Resistance and its future. A Beautiful Resistance is a series I started at the Boston Globe after the lynching of George Floyd. I have covered Black Lives Matter since the beginning of it, and a little bit before we even had the language for it. And I went to George Floyd's funeral, and I was in Minneapolis, and in the middle of the pandemic, and it was a lot to take in, because it was like standing in between the pandemic of COVID and America's original pandemic, racism and supremacy. And I couldn't touch anybody. I couldn't, you know, we're all masked up and crying, and it was just a lot to deal with. And I live alone, so it's not like I could come home and hug anyone safely. So I needed a way to wrap my arms around us as Black people and people, period. And I needed a way to show our humanity to everyone, not just to us, but to everyone, because I spent most of my career writing about injustice and inequities, and that's important. Like, I am never going to say my work wasn't important. It is important. But to get the story right of a people, you have to tell their whole story. So you also have to show their joy, their everyday moments, their fullness, their multitudes. And in journalism, we tend to tell the narrative of Black people as either so excellent, they're inhuman, they're just so successful and excellent, we've made a spectacle of them, or just look at the brutality and injustice and suffering. So it's either trauma porn or talented 10th, which leaves us no nuance, no humanity. And I wanted to celebrate us beyond hashtags. So I said, hey, I went to my editor and I said, hey, I want to do this multimedia series. It's a little different from my column. I call them mixtapes because it's like each episode, it's like a short film. And then it's like a 1,200 word story. And then there's a little short Q&A and a playlist because music. And every day on Instagram, we have people sharing their beautiful resistance. I hope you too will join us.
Yes.
And that's how it started. And season 1 was 6 episodes, 24 pieces of content. And it wrapped up around Christmas Eve. And it's Black History Month. We're doing a special collaboration with Reebok celebrating Black History Month. And it's actually wellness as a form of resistance. So it's fitting that we're in conversation tonight because I believe to be free and to have joy, you have to be well. So we're focusing on people who are creating community in fitness and wellness. So that's my short, long answer on a beautiful resistance. I like to quote Ossie Davis a lot. He said, in America, this isn't part of his quote, but in America, Black people have been defined by their burdens and by their suffering. And you can't measure a people by their traumas and brutalities. And Ossie Davis, and this is where the quote will start. He said, I find in being Black a thing of beauty, strength and joy, a secret cup of gladness. And I've just been holding on to that because I'm like, that's what I want to give in this. That's what a beautiful resistance is.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, what is your happy songs? Like what I watch Grey's Anatomy because I watch Grey's Anatomy and I know they don't get it right. I know y'all probably watch it like, what is that? That does not happen in the hospital. But Meredith and Yang and them always dance it out on the hard surgery days. So what's your like dance it out song?
Yolanda Adams. This battle is not yours.
So, okay, when I really want to dance it out, and my boyfriend knows this, I turn on James Brown.
Yes.
Or a little Jackie Wilson. I'm a very old soul.
Very old soul.
Favorite James Brown song?
Ooh, my favorite James Brown song. Mama's Got a Brand New Bag.
Yes! We have an audience question. What did it feel? It's for you, Dr. Kudji Sylvester. What did it feel like to not only graduate medical school yourself, but then to watch your daughter do the same as well?
It was the most amazing day. When Jasmine called me and told me that she got into LSU, I was in medical school. And I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? Okay. And she's screaming, I was screaming, like, oh my God, we're gonna be in medical school together, oh my God. And then the reality was, oh Lord, how am I gonna pay for this? Oh Lord, she gonna want money, right? I got no money. Outside the country, good God help me. But all things work for the good of them that love the Lord, and it has been an amazing, amazing journey with Jasmine. She gets me, when I say, I had a rough day because she understands exactly what I'm going through. Yeah. When I can't get that thought to, or that concept, right? This girl is smart. She'll sit up there and be like, oh, well, mommy, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, I've only been studying for that for 2 months, right? And so we have like this relationship, and it's something that I would have never dreamt that I'd have a daughter as a best friend.
Oh.
And so many people are like, well, do y'all argue? It's not like that, because the lines of mother-daughter are just blurred. That's just gone out the window, and I've learned to watch her, learn the skill and she's been just beautiful, just absolutely just beautiful at it. She fails, she gets up, she fails again, but she keeps getting up, and if I always tell her, if I leave this earth, I know that Jasmine Kudji is going to be all right, because if she fails, she's going to get back up.
Jasmine, what do you think it would have been like if you weren't going through it alongside your mother?
Oh, it would have been I probably wouldn't have finished, to be honest. I mean, I struggled a lot through medical school because it's hard, and having my mom there to encourage me, to pick me up, it was, I needed it 100%, 100%. I can't even see myself like doing any of this without her. 100%.
Community is what gets us through.
It is.
Ain't nothing like having your family.
Yeah. And one thing in medicine is that, with the match process, you can match anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. There are people who go, halfway across the country, to go work at hospitals for years on end, and I've met surgeons who, through their training, they've gone to so many different places and they've lost connection with, their support system. I had an attending who was completely by himself on his birthday, and I was like, where are your friends? And he was like, after 12 years of training, you lose touch with those people, and so I feel so blessed and so thankful to still have my mom, of course, as my support system, but also just like the network of people that I've grown up with and that I've had here. It's amazing.
I think it's amazing. I'm one of those people that, had to chase where the opportunity was. So I know what it's like to be stripped away from your support system and family. So I think that's why I get so excited when I see such deeply rooted connections like yours. I like to end on a high note.
Yes.
So we got a great question from the audience. And so the last question would be, what has been your favorite part of this journey thus far? Outside of each other, because that's clear. It's clear that your togetherness is it. So let's say outside of each other, what's been your favorite part?
I would say the growth. I am a completely different person than I was in 2015 when all this started. And I would say that I'm stronger. I would say that I know myself so much better. There is nothing that could really happen at this point that could sway me from who I am at this point.
Definitely. I think medical school and residence, once you get past, the hurdles, over and over and over again, you develop a certain resilience, and at the end of it, you realize that there is a reasoning to the madness, and you become confident, and I think throughout this whole journey, I'm so grateful to the support that we've had, to our family. And it just makes me realize how loved we really, really are, because they have sacrificed so much, to get us to this point. And I think that's the thing that I take away the most, is that people love you, and people sacrifice for you, and we owe them just so much.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being in conversation with me and let me sit at your table. I'm going to bring James back to close out this fabulous evening.
Thank you so much, Janae, and of course, Dr. Kudji Sylvester and Dr. Kudji. The three of you, what an incredible conversation. I can't thank you enough. And I know everyone out there watching is just as inspired and in awe of all three of you and the contributions that you give to the world on a daily basis. So thank you. And I wasn't kidding. Janae, you missed this earlier, but I wasn't kidding. In a year, when we can, we're bringing the Dr. Kudji Sylvester and Dr. Kudji up here to the museum, to Boston. We're going to do this again as a recap of what's happened in a year post-COVID, because we've got to get the three of you together.
I will be there.
Yes. So something to look forward to. But thank you again so much to the three of you. And thank you once more to our friends from the WISE initiative here at the museum and the Lowell Institute for making tonight possible. And thank you to everyone out there watching for spending your Wednesday night with us. We hope you will continue to do so all season long. We're going to leave with one more final plug for another very important virtual town hall that's happening here at the museum on February 23rd, all about vaccine decisions, this time really focusing in on recruiting for clinical trials. So that's on February 23rd. There's an incredible panel of voices that are going to be speaking on this issue at 5 p.m. There's going to be a slide that comes up as you exit the virtual venue tonight with the link of where you can register for your spot and learn more information. But thank you again to our special guests. Thank you again to everyone watching. Stay safe and stay well.
Bye.
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 Bye.